Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man, and today we're looking at a foot control. Not just any foot control, but a good old metal foot control from back in the day. This is a Mercury Electric Products. This is a real good foot control. It's far superior to a lot of them nowadays, but this doesn't get used much anymore, and they're practically obsolete and discontinued because they're metal, they're heavy, and they have this heat sink on the inside, which is made out of a ceramic, and of course it's very fragile, and these things will break, and they get broken, they get bounced around. They can't get bounced around. They have to be taken care of. So if you have one that's cracked or on here, you need a new one. If you have one that the back won't come off, this notch here, this notch always lines up with the whole side where the wire comes in, if it's this type. If it's the Kenmore type where you just loosen a screw, these are a little bit easier to get in. You loosen the screw, and then it lifts up and then comes out and gets access to the inside, but it ends up looking just like this once you get to the inside. And the reason we're making this video today is because we have a lot of customers lately who've been turning on their machine, and the light's coming on, but they're getting nothing from the foot control. They're getting no response, or it's a off and on, sputtering, starting, stopping. And usually that's because where the wire goes into the foot control, right here, there'll be a short, there'll be a void. There's two wires that go in, and of course when they pinch that little clamp that goes in to secure it, sometimes that'll cause it to break those little sections of wire, and it'll start working back and forth, and then what happens there is that one of them breaks loose, or both. And you'll see on the outside there's nothing visible that's causing the problem, or looking like there's a problem, but on the inside there's no continuity because the copper wiring has broken and it's not making a contact. Or you can wiggle it and the machine will stop start when you're wiggling that wire. That's how you test it, of course, is you plug everything in, you make sure your machine's in the bobbin winder mode, so you're not going to start the machine going and jam something up with a threaded or anything like that. So you just put the machine in bobbin winder mode, step on the gas, get the current flowing if it's there, and then jiggle this, and if a machine takes off, that's where the problem is, and that's an easy fix. The hard part is getting this little plug out of here. This little plug goes in from this side over here. It clamps down on the wire, they'll put the wire through there. This clamps down on it. This goes in, trying to get a contrast here. Goes in like so, and then it goes into the hole to hold it in place. And when you go to pull this thing out, you got to be real careful. You have to grip this with pliers on the side. You can see it's oval shaped, it's not round. Grab it, and it'll pull straight out. Just grab it, and it'll pull straight out. You have to squeeze it really hard to compact it down so it'll pop out of the hole. Now, a lot of times it'll slip off, and you'll start scuffing this and tearing it up, but that's okay because you're going to cut that and solve the problem, because the breakage is going to be right here, so you're going to cut that section out. So don't worry if you scratch it up in this area here a little bit, because you're going to take that out anyhow. So what you do is, once you get inside of it, you'll notice that these wires will be through this hole. You'll have one goes to the left, one goes to the right, and when you open this up, these will be mounted to the screws. One will be screwed down over here, and one will be screwed down over there like so. Sometimes people don't put this little plug back in. They'll just tie a knot here and do away with this altogether. And that'll work. It just doesn't look as professional as if you put the plug back in. The plug's a pain in the area, if you know what I mean. This thing's a pain. Sometimes you can get the little, see if I can reach one here, because I got 700 drawers back here. See if I can find one. The little grommets. Yeah, you can get these little grommets. These grommets are pretty cool. You can get them at your neighborhood hardware store. These little grommets will go in there also to help it keep from getting chafed around the little metal hole there. So you put the little grommets in. You can get those hither and yon. The hardware store has them, little grommets that go in to keep you from getting your wire messed up. But if you want to put the original one back in, you can do that, or you can just tie a knot. So when you open this thing up in the back, it's going to be closed when you have it. and it's a pain to get open. It's going to look like this, and you want this notch hopefully to be over here. If this notch is down here, it means that someone put it on upside down, and this is your stop points here. When it pulls back to the stop point, then you have access. I grab a hold of this, slide it back like so. Sometimes that's a chore, getting it to slide it open, and of course it stops here at the stop points. Get you access to these screws. Don't take the screws out, just loosen them. Loosen this out, and then your short, your bad spot will be right about here. So what you'll do is you'll cut that section out. You'll peel your wires back, you know, just expose, I don't know. I can do it for you real quick here. It's a perfectly good foot control, but we can do this for illustration. If your brake is here, what you do is you just make sure it's unplugged so you don't light yourself up. And cut it. You separate these two. Sometimes they'll separate real easy, sometimes not so easy. You can take your wire cutters and just cut those open. Bring them down. Sometimes you want to get your pliers because this old stuff is really thick. It's not like the new stuff that's really thin. Spread it apart and bring it down to probably right about there, because you're going to want to take that off. And if you're fortunate enough to have a pair of these, you can, you know, these wire strippers, take that off like so. Take this off like so. And if you want to, you can put these through. Tie a knot, so that'll be your strain relief. You know, tie these together, you know, spin your ends because you're going to put them on. Spin your ends, so you want to get them nice and concise. But if you want to tie this in a knot, you can. And then what you have is a built-in strain relief that'll keep it from coming through the hole like so. And then you can just take these, you know, put them under the screw, tighten them down on each side. You get the idea. Right one goes to the left one goes to the right, or you can put the left one on the right and right one left. It doesn't matter. Just positive, minus. It doesn't make any difference which one goes to where. Tighten your screws down. You don't have to put your relief plug back in, but you know that if you do, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a pain. I'll show you as quickly as I can here. See if I can get a little closer to show you how much fun this is. Because it's fun. Trust me. Because this thing goes in the slot. The wire's going to lay right in there. Going to lay it in there. And you're going to fold this. It's going to lay in the slot like so. Get some light on here. It's going to lay in the slot like that. And you pull this over. And you straddle that bad boy with this thing. And then you crimp it down. And you got to do some serious crimping to get it to go back in there. You got to squeeze the daylights out of it with some pliers to get it to go back in. And you'll notice it has a tapered end and the big end. The tapered end is going to go to the forward part, so you're going to have it going in first. So you put it in the slot, you put the wire there, and then you get your trusty pliers, and then you squeeze the daylights out of it and keep your fingers out of the way. The reason I say that is because this is not conducive if you have fingers that don't like to be bitten. They will get bitten by either the pliers or this. Then you put this back in the hole. See, it's going to be going there like so. You can see if I'm struggling with it like this, you know that you're going to struggle with it. Or you might just put it right in. You might be Mr. Electrician and you might just pop it right in there. But the idea is to get that as small as you can and get it to go back in the hole. And it's a pain. That's why a lot of people just tie the knot and say the heck with it. And they can do that because it's their own personal thing. I like to get it to go back in the dang hole. Let's give it one more squeeze to get it small enough to go in the dang hole. If you hum, it helps. It keeps your head from exploding. Okay, we'll grab it one more time and force it into the hole. Some are easier than this. I think I picked the hardest one I had here. I'm going to try to do this without bleeding. That's why I'm being real careful not to get my fingers in the way, because it will bite you. And it will eventually snap in there. When I say eventually, I mean sometime this year. Oh, Lordy, I think it just about did it. This is getting absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's try it again. Trying to keep my finger out of there because I don't want to bleed in front of everybody. Finally. Oh my gosh. Well, when I tell you it's no day at the beach, and the reason people leave this out and just tie their ends for the strain relief, that's why they do that, because, or you can do both. In case that comes loose, tie your ends, and then you just take your ends here, wrap it around that screw all the way around so there's nothing hanging out. Wrap it around very nicely. Get the longest screwdriver you can, you know, just make it a joke. These are jokes, folks. And you tighten them back down. I get the long one to keep the handle out of the picture. You tighten it back down. You tighten that one down. And then you tighten the other one down. Make sure it's loosened up. Now you can, if you want to, put you some real nice receptacles on the end, like the one we cut off. You can put them back on there. Go down to the hardware store, grab those, put them on, slide them underneath, tighten them down. You know, just put the little receptacles on the end, like this. You know, you can even take these off. I've seen people take these off and put them back on. That's doable. It takes a lot of time. Or you can just go get new ones. You may have them laying around in your shop. Throw those on, slide them underneath. But if you don't want to do that, just take that wire. I wrap it around one complete 360-degree trip around it. I need a little help from another screwdriver. Get it all the way around. And then I tighten it down to make sure there's no excess hanging out. And if you're going to tighten them down, you're going to tighten them down clockwise, so make the thread go, or the wire actually, go around clockwise, and when you tighten it clockwise, it'll be tightening the wire. So now you've got that done. Tuck that down underneath. That's your double strain relief. You have one here and one there. And you close the back, and it's good as new and fixed. And I did not plan for it to take that long, but you know what? That's a true representation of the pain in the rearage that you're about to encounter. But you can do the shortcut and leave this thing out if you want to. That's up to you. But I put them back in, even though it's pain. But back in business, working good as new. And of course, when you're not getting power to your light and motor, if you have one of these types here, one says light, one says motor. The one that says motor, if it comes unplugged, you'll get the same result as if this has got a short in it. Nothing will go. So make sure this is plugged in. Make sure this is plugged in always, because sometimes the cords are short. When you tilt the machine back, it'll unplug it. And of course, whenever you put them in there, put this in. Make sure that you sometimes have to spread this apart so it'll make good contact. If it doesn't make good contact, you can have it plugged in, but it won't go. This is old school, but if you have an old J.C. Penney Pencrest or an old Nelco or an old, some of the old Kenmores, I guess, but that's one way of doing it. The other, you may just have the molded plug-in that goes in the side, and you won't have to be worried about that. But Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Sorry it took so long, but I'm telling you, that's what you'll get up against when you change this thing out. 15 minutes of your life you'll never get back, but it might save you $100. All right?